I think I was muted. So we may not have got that little warning at the start. Before I forget to say, there's some cool stuff in this game, so you may not want to watch if you haven't played it. I very much enjoyed it. I finished it for the first time. I think it was earlier today. And I just thought I'd try again and see how it goes. I've finished it twice so far. And it's a really cool game, so you should consider playing it yourself instead of watching. You know, you could just... Well, even the sound is kind of spoilery, honestly, you know. But I just thought I would say it's a cool game, and you're better off playing it yourself if you're at all interested. Yeah. Well, particularly towards the end, I think it's really cool. So, yeah, I've no sound as usual. That kind of works against me a little bit. Blah, blah, blah. I don't expect to get a 1 credit clear. That would be the end goal here, you know. I don't expect to get a 1 credit clear, but we can play the game and just see how it goes. Also, in case you are not aware, for anybody who's not aware, Logic Bombs... There's a Switch port of Logic Bombs coming out, and it'll be out on the 24th of December. So if you're a Switch player, you can enter a realm of pure logic on December 24th, if you so choose. And those are the announcements out of the way, I think. I think this game is really cool, so like I said, you know, take my spoiler warning seriously, please. As I want to play it, I would just be playing this game anyway, so I'm turning on the stream. It's a pretty low energy stream, and I've been streaming more frequently lately, so I'm going to be more comfortable keeping it short. I'm going to be more comfortable keeping it short. And what was I saying? Yeah, and it's a low energy stream. I'm not really gonna answer questions as much as usual. I think I'm just gonna play the game. Well, you know, I'll chat and all, but yeah, it's enough preamble, I think. How's everybody doing? I just don't know what to do with myself right now, so that's why I'm streaming, you know. I don't have any work to do on the Switch thing. That's done. So I'm not working on anything big right now. And yeah. Yeah, a couple of people messaged me about Jonathan playing Logic Bombs. I didn't watch the whole extent of him playing it or anything. He can be very critical, so, you know, I don't want to get into some tit for tat. I imagine he's not going to hear about me talking about this anyway, so I don't want to get into some kind of, like, you know, bullshit. But yeah, I wish he had stuck with it a bit longer. I think he's dropped it, if I understand correctly, I think. I wish he had stuck with it a bit longer, but I understand where he was coming from. If he did drop it, I think he did. It's one of those things that, like... Yeah, I'll talk about this more in the developer commentary. Like, maybe I was just misguided in the way that I put the game together, but if you had asked me before he played it, would he have enjoyed it? I would say, you know, maybe, because he likes Dungeons and Diagrams, but it's not exactly... I know that it's not exactly the way he would make a puzzle game, you know. There would be fewer puzzles in it, probably. Like, there would be less redundancy in the game, for example, you know. I was coming at it from a different angle. And I still kind of don't want to talk about my reasons for this just yet. I'm saving them for the commentary, you know. And maybe you'll think they're not very good reasons, but I knew what I was doing, you know? And yeah, he can be very critical, so I got off pretty easy. He enjoyed at least some of his time with it anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I should talk about these things anymore because I'm very standoffish, maybe the right word, when it comes to other YouTubers and stuff like that. So I kind of want to take the same approach when it comes to other game developers, if I can be called a game developer now, which still feels a little bit wrong to me, you know. Yeah. I don't want to get pulled into some fucking drama or something like that, you know? People are free to play the game and they can enjoy it if they want or whatever. What the hell happened there? I took my eyes off the screen while I was doing that, but I was under the impression that I was safe there. I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, this isn't the worst checkpoint to recover from. There's only... Well, no, technically I've been able to recover from, I think, every checkpoint in the game. I think I have recovered and been able to get to the next checkpoint from every checkpoint. But there's one of them that's extremely hard. That feels like it's just luck. If I fuck up and I lose the power-ups, then I'm just banking on luck to get me through. And even then, I only barely scrape to the next checkpoint and always die before I can actually carry on. Yeah. There is no commentary yet. There's an idea that, it would be nice to make a commentary, and I have some notes written for it. So that would be the idea there. Yeah, it's the stage 6 middle checkpoint, yeah. What's up? Hello, everyone. I haven't played Air Riders yet. I don't have a Switch 2 yet. I thought the pod was on the front. Getting distracted already. Matt, are you the kind of guy who keeps a fairly large selection of classic video game consoles and games, or do you keep things more minimalist? It's funny you should say this because I'm kind of annoyed lately. I don't have a very good setup and it annoys me. And I wish that it was easier. I wish I had you know when people post their battle stations and they have these really, really nice setups. I wish I had something like that, but I don't, and that kind of bothers me because I have a bunch of consoles set up and stuff. I've been in the mood to play arcadey stuff, as you can imagine, playing R-Type here, and I really want to play Sin and Punishment Star Successor, but the Wii isn't hooked up, and I don't know where the cables for it are. The component cables are somewhere, and it's just, there's a lot of friction, there's just friction. I had to go buy batteries in it as well. I was out of batteries. Anyway, I normally play better than this. Usually I can get through the first 4 stages without dying. Well, sometimes I die on stage 3. But yeah. I've been in the mood to play Star Success. Yeah, I'll probably hook up the Wii soon and get it sorted, but it's just, there's a lot of friction. Somebody said, I assume you're against emulation. I'm not really against it exactly. I do think you should support developers wherever possible. This is the HD boosted version of this game that just came out. I've turned off some of the settings so that it looks more like the PS1 version, you know. And I suppose they're not the original developers that were involved in the game or whatever, but it's an official way to play R-Type. This just came out on Steam recently, so. But I like to play on original consoles or whatever. Something like that whenever possible, you know. I haven't played Luminous Arise, but I did play the original. I think it was PSP. It wasn't a Vita game, right? It was PSP, I think. I played that a lot back in the day, right when it came out. That's why I've always felt a little bit weird. I have this on this channel. I have this playlist, by the way. Probably most of you have seen it if you're on this channel, but I have this playlist of just assorted favorites of music from different games. And I feel a little weird about the fact that Luminous is on there because it's very kind of cheesy. It's just this cheesy Japanese pop song that's on it. If it's still there, sometimes the videos get taken down by YouTube and I have to find them again, you know. But it's there just because I used to play Luminous really late into the night, and I just remember on a couple of occasions that's the song that plays right before you loop in the game. And I remember at least one occasion, but probably a couple of occasions where I'd be playing it and I'm playing for about an hour or so to get to the loop and I'm staying up too late and the sun starts coming up and that song is playing and it's just got that kind of nostalgia value for me, you know. So I don't actually like the song or even the game really all that much, you know. Most of the things on that playlist are more like, this is a really good track. There's definitely a track from this game that's going on to it soon, you know. I'll probably, since this version has just come out, I'll give people more time to play it before I put it on because it's a little bit spoilery. But yeah, that one is a little bit strange. It stands out a little bit. I got to think about what else I want to put onto it as well from what I listened to recently. I think I'll probably put the Choral Chambers track from Silk Song on it. I thought that was very good. I was playing something else not so long ago and I thought that's got it. We gotta get one on from there. I don't remember what it was. Thank you, Breakfast. Appreciate it. What are some other games you were playing during the 2000s? I don't know. Whatever came out in the 2000s. I don't know. Oh, the Tears of the Kingdom songs are gone from it, are they? Yeah. Yeah, I actually have a physical list. I'm not sure if I updated it properly, but I do. I have a written list of all the tracks that are on it. I try to use the official uploads wherever possible now. I didn't go back through the whole thing, but there's a lot of them that have official uploads, and I went back and no, I didn't go back, but I try to use the official ones. I think I've played a little bit of Salamander, but not very much, honestly. Oh, that's great. It's the sorry, I don't know how to say that. Custom? Yeah, the playtime on the game has really kind of blown me away. People playing it for like 60 hours and then saying they enjoyed their time with it. I really never thought that I would make a game that was that substantial. So I'm even more surprised that it's the very first one that I made. It's been crazy to see some of the playtime on things. It seems like, yeah. Well, I think it's more like not necessarily your IQ, but if you're coming at it from if you've played Picross, for example, or Dungeons and Diagrams, it is ultimately a different game than those, but there's aspects of those games that prime you to about the way that you're supposed to start tackling and thinking about logic bombs. So that definitely reduces your playtime. But it seems like even for people who are really good at puzzles, it takes about 30 hours. It seems like most people are not clocking in under 30 hours when they beat it, which is pretty crazy to me. And I'm glad if people think it's a good use of time and all that. I don't know if I should be telling this story. If you're tuning into the streams, you consent to having all of these things repeated again, right? In various ways. As has already happened, like the context sensitivity video kind of came up during that Symphony of the Night stream. That's where the idea for it was obviously formed. Um, I think if I was to play the game now, there might be a puzzle I would have to cheat on because I think 10-4 is harder than I intended it to be. So for every puzzle in the game, I solved multiple times to make sure that it was possible to do it. Um, and I didn't always get it right. There was two puzzles, one where I overlooked a really obvious flaw with it. It's because I had reworked the puzzle so many times that, yeah, I'm not happy with that one as it stands, but, whatever. I can't really change it now. That's one where there's a 7 bomb in each corner. It's a relatively early one, and I just made a stupid fuck up on that one. There's another one later where I made a more subtle mistake about it, and that one got fixed and that one got improved when I fixed it. But 10-4, people keep talking about 10-4 being really hard, and I think I must have made a mistake when I was solving it. Maybe. See, the problem, one of the scary things about making a game like this, especially when you don't playtest it, and this may, like, I'm lucky if this is the only puzzle where this. Well, I'm not lucky. Hang on, I should give myself more credit than that. I did try to do a very thorough job, right? So it's more than just luck. I shouldn't be unkind to myself in that way. But if you don't have playtesters and you're just trying to do it all in your own head, there's the chance that when you solve a puzzle, you come back and you try to approach it from zero again. You try to forget all your knowledge about how you solved it in the past and solve it from scratch to prove that it's solvable, right? And I did every puzzle in the game that way. But it's hard to put yourself in that mentality, right? It's hard to forget everything that you know about a puzzle and make sure that you're doing everything perfectly logically. And I think maybe that's what happened with 10-4. I think maybe I took a sort of this is maybe confusing language for anybody who's not familiar with logic puzzles or whatever. The way I would phrase it is I maybe made an illegal move, at some point every time when I solved it without realizing that it was a bad move. And so the puzzle is harder than I intended, I think. Yeah, so I'm not actually sure that one works the way. But I'm almost kind of glad that it worked out that way because I think it's fun. I think it's a fun little fact about the game. It's a fun little aspect of its development that 10-4 did not turn out the way I expected, and that's just how it is with games sometimes. Games have their little quirks, and the developer looks back at it and goes, "Oh, that was a mistake," And it's kind of fun that Logic Bombs has something like that in it, So I don't think I would change it now, even if I did realize that I got it wrong. I haven't gone back to try and solve it again. I had 0 playtesters. 0 play. It was, yeah, it was a pretty insane launch. I don't think I'm going to be anywhere near as worried about launch. If I manage to launch a second game, I think it's going to be a much more relaxed affair than Dodgy Palms. It was kind of an insane thing to do, because the PC version didn't get a lot of, you know, technical testing. We have 2 laptops here basically, and it ran on both, and the Steam Deck, and it ran on them all, and that was it. You know, hopefully it runs on everyone else's computer. So that, on top of the lack of playtesting for the puzzles and stuff, was just, it was an unwise thing to do. But what can I say? I got kind of manic about carrying on and trying to see it to the end by myself, you know. I think part of the way I've been thinking about this lately, actually, I'm not playing on the maximum difficulty, by the way. Was I playing some, I think maybe I was playing some other game that made me think about this. I'm not sure. But I feel like one thing that's had maybe an outsized influence on the way that I do things, both when I'm playing games, but also maybe a little bit in real life as well, is Wipeout. Because one of the things that sticks with me from playing Wipeout, I love the Wipeout games, right? One of the things that I always think about when I think about Wipeout is you play the zone mode, and if you can get to something like even zone 50, usually, it kind of depends on the game. The highest speed class in regular Wipeout is called Phantom. It's Phantom, isn't it? Yeah, pretty sure it's Phantom. And when you play zone mode, you can go beyond Phantom, so you're doing a higher speed trek through the course. And Phantom, back when I was playing Wipeout 3, which is where there was no zone mode, Phantom is really, really fast. When you're doing just races, Phantom is really, really fast. But when you do zone mode and then you go back to the regular races, Phantom feels almost like you're moving in slow motion, you know? And I kind of approach things like that as well. Because what I'm saying is the idea of, if I do a second game, the idea of going, oh, now I can play test it, and I'm going to play test it and be confident that people respond to the things in the game the way I think they will before it comes out, that feels like easy mode now. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't mean to get up my own ass about this. It was basically an unwise thing to do, you know, but whatever. Got off to a rough start, but I'm surprised how well I'm doing. I feel like I haven't been paying that much attention to the game, and I'm already... Yeah, Valve really is relentless with playtesting, yeah. I understand it. I do understand it. One of the things I was thinking about, again, this might go in the commentary. I don't know. I'd have to look up the original phrase, but one of the things that I was thinking about is I understand the desire for playtest, the way Valve does it, right? But I also think that your ability to simulate another player's perspective in your mind and approach the game in multiple ways and try to think about different angles on it is a pretty critical skill in being a good designer, surely. You know, I can't say, like, you can't say this for, I don't want to make a blanket statement about all games or whatever, or talk like I'm some kind of expert, because, you know, Logic Bombs is a pretty fucking humble thing, right? But it seems like it feels like that's maybe the core component of being a game designer, right? Is just thinking about what experience you want the player to have, you know, what they're going to actually do when you put them in the situation, and how do you get from one to the other? How do you make them do what you want them to do, or like give them the freedom, certain amount of freedom, and then respond to that freedom in a way that makes sense, you know? So I do wonder if, I forgot what my initial point. What I was going to say was I'd have to look up a translation of this to figure out if this is what was really said. But when I was thinking about this, thinking about the fact that the game hadn't been play tested, one of the things that I thought about, which gave me a little bit, a modicum of comfort, right, even though it may just be a mistranslation or a translation error, is I started thinking about that quote that you see sometimes. I have it in one of my videos as well. I can't remember which one. About Super Mario Bros. 1-1. And it's Miyamoto or whoever says, "We kept simulating what the player would do." Now, if you take that sentence in its most literal form, that doesn't mean it was play tested, actually. Your mind might jump to play testing. But what's actually said in that quote is, we kept simulating what the player would do. Right? Not we brought in players and got them to play it. Rather, we kept simulating. So there's something maybe to that, you know? But yeah, if you can play test, I suppose that's the better option. What I'm saying is, yeah, you want to play test your game, but you probably want to, if you want your play testing to be valuable, you want it to be something that's already in a good state, probably. You know, you don't want to have to go through it 50 million times to get to where you're going. You want to get 90% of the way there yourself. It's like when you're a programmer, right? And I was guilty of this as well. When you're a novice programmer, you don't test your own programming enough. You think, well, I didn't anyway, and I think it's true for a lot of programmers. You go, my job is to be a programmer. I program the thing, and then it gets kicked over to whoever's going to test it. But that's not really how it is. If you're a programmer, you are the frontline tester, and there's very simple things that it should be 90% tested by the time it gets over to whoever it is that's going to do the testing. You know, maybe 90% is an exaggeration, but you waste so much time if you give them something sloppy. You waste so much time having to fix up little stupid things instead of working on the actual guts of the problem, you know. This is the make or break segment right here. Well, I'm pretty bad at the boss on this stage as well. I've only beaten it a couple of times, so we might be stuck here for a while. It's an interesting point there. Somebody says Valve did say that the feedback on Half-Life Alyx changed drastically once levels were finished aesthetically, even when mechanically it hadn't changed much. Yeah. That may be something they were overlooking in their prior games, maybe. I don't know. Well, that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. Okay. I might just restart. I mean, this isn't a one credit clear anyway, so I don't know. We're probably not going to get it on stream anyway. By the way, there's no manual included in this release. That's something that they maybe should do. Just a PDF or something. Just because it's a PS1 game at heart, you know, so that should probably be there. But I didn't look up the manual, which I probably should. But I did a quick search online to see if anybody talked about this, and maybe people understand this. Maybe it's obvious to everyone else, but it took me a long time to realize. I'm still a little bit unsure, actually, but I think the enemies are more aggressive when your dose gauge is full, which is not something that's really communicated to you by the game itself all that well. It might be in the manual. But those, I'm not sure how many enemies it applies to, but those little walker guys down the bottom of the screen appear to shoot way more, like at least twice as many bullets when your dose gauge is full than they do otherwise. Because it's once your dose gauge is full, it's very hard to escape this little exit. Yeah, I shouldn't have used that there. I don't know how I'm going to get past this next guy. Whoa! One shot? If you space that just right, that's one shot. I tried that before and it didn't one-shot him. I don't know what story is there. I did that before. It seemed like the best way to go about it, but it didn't one-shot him. Maybe if you just space it right. If you pay attention to the green guy that's down the bottom now, you'll see he's shooting less because the dose gauge isn't full. And it could be dynamic depending on how... Maybe that's what the 3 colors are about. I don't know, but I think it's just when you're at 100%. I don't know. I mean the 3 colors on the dose gauge. I don't know. The delta attack is you fill up the gauge by absorbing stuff with the force pod. And then you can just use it whenever. If you touch an enemy or a shot, you get, by the way, you get more points when it's full. And I think, and you definitely get more points by killing enemies with the pod itself. Which I forget already. I've been kind of, you know, I've been talking and stuff, so this is all a blur to me already, but I probably did that around the start of the game. I probably just used the pod to kill some things. Okay, we've got a shot here. But the question now is, do I try that again? That didn't go very well. I don't know. That missile's in an unfortunate place as well. Maybe hit the checkpoint there. Maybe. No. Oh. That's... Sorry, that might have been very obnoxious noise on the microphone. That's very close to the checkpoint though. That's probably a second, less than a second away from the checkpoint, I would say. It doesn't look like it is. When you respawn, it looks like you're too far forward, but... Oh, it was when I was playing this game. That's where the Wipeout analogy came to mind. Yeah, because when you know, the temptation is if you fuck up here, just restart the game or whatever. This one has a practice mode as well, which you can use this version. I used it a tiny bit, but I mostly wanted the purest experience, so I didn't do it. And yeah, this is the weight training of R-Type. You know, you do this 10 times or 50 times or whatever it is without your upgrades, and then hopefully next time when you're on an actual run where you have upgrades, hopefully it feels much more manageable as a result. That's the hope anyway. Okay, we can probably get a charge here if we just don't shoot. Yeah, we're good. That helps there, yeah. So what I'm doing now, that's a little optimization there. If I do some damage to the big guy up top, once I'm confident that the thing is going to finish him off, the delta attack is going to finish him off, then start attacking the slug or whatever it is. I don't know what you call it, the sausage in the middle of the screen. We did it. Maybe we have a shot. On the off chance, I'll probably forget, so on the off chance that I do get any further than this, you've already seen a lot, but the last stage is my favorite part of the game, so, you know, that's your spoiler warning. I think it's really cool. This is where my strategy for this part feels pretty bad. It feels like there's probably a better way to do this, but I managed to do it pretty consistently. That's kind of an awkward situation to be in when you're playing games like this, where you're doing something and it's working, and it works, you know, 9 times out of 10 or more even, but it just feels bad, and you just think, do I want to go through the effort of trying to come up with some other strategy for this? Because if you're going for a 1 credit clear, a 9 out of 10 chance is kind of bad, you know? I find these guys very hard to deal with. Okay, we got away with that. Okay, we might be okay here. Oh, that's bad. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work. We got away with it. No way. Okay, I didn't expect to get this far on stream. I really like the last stage. If you haven't played this game, another spoiler warning, okay? It's out now on Steam, and you can play it right now yourself. Even the sound is kind of, I enjoy the sound in this level as well. I think the sound design in this game in general is great, the way the music matches with stuff, but yeah. I kind of don't want to play this. I kind of don't want to play it on stream. I don't know, man. Not so soon, anyway. I didn't think I'd get there in 40 minutes. Chat, have any opinion on this? I don't know. I don't want to make it out to be... I don't want to make it out to be some huge thing either. Like, maybe I'm overselling it. But I very much enjoyed this stage. And I'm going to quit. All right. We'll start over. All right, let's see if we can get back with one continue. If I do get there without using a continue, I'll carry on because that's something that I want to do anyway. Okay, so I'm not going to give up an opportunity if I get there. And the fact that I was willing to do that should tell you that I believe you should go and try and play the game yourself. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, where's that guy from last time who said he'd pay $10 for Logic Bombs on the Switch? By the way, I was working on it. I was working on it then. Alrighty. I just didn't want to announce it until I was sure it was going to come out. So. I was a little tempted. I was a little tempted to go for that $10 price tag. Well, I hope better times ahead, Kako, or you know. I'm glad. It's probably not going to be a very long stream, but I'm glad. I don't know. I'm glad to help in some way, if it's helping. I would say that I'm not really into bullet hell shmups that much. I don't know. I haven't played that many, but I really like this game. Really, really like it. I was very impressed with it. I think, I don't know, maybe I just have to come to terms with it because it's still kind of early days for me with this game, you know. I want to play it with the other ships because I'm enjoying it so much. I think maybe stage 6 oversteps a little bit on the difficulty, maybe. It's more so just that, like for example, on that the R-Type 1 boss, I don't know what you call it. The guy at the end of stage 6, the big alien looking guy. The second phase where all those streams of bubbles and stuff come out, it's just not very good. It's trial and error, and I think I've been thinking about it as I play it, and I think just due to the nature of the way the force pod works, having it on the front or the back is so different that a little bit of memorization is just always going to be a thing in R-Type, just because of that mechanic of the force pod. Because if you have it on the back versus the front, it's just totally different firepower in a totally different direction. It changes things dramatically, you know. So you kind of can't get away with a little bit of memorization being very valuable. But I just found out that if you just sit in the bottom left corner, then none of those bubbles hit you, at least for the first 3 or 4 sets of them. I think I got to a 5th set one time when I didn't manage to kill the boss, and then it looked like maybe you would get hit in that corner, and I died. But that's just not very good, you know. So it's very difficult. It was difficult to figure that boss out. But it's not very good difficulty. But my only real problem is stage 6 being a bit too hard in a kind of unenjoyable way. But I might come to terms with it, you know. I don't play that many shmups, so it wouldn't be that surprising if I find something a bit hard that other people would go, no, it's fine. So I don't want to condemn the game for that. But going back to the bullet hell point, I think, granted I haven't played very many, but what I really like about R-Type, this and the original R-Type, is it feels like it's got level design in a more traditional sense, you know? I don't know. I'm just reaching for a comparison to something off the top of my head. Another game that I love, right? But it kind of reminds me of Alien Soldier in a way. Like this section here, where you're just going through the water and there's this thing falling slowly, and you have to deal with things on the side and all. It's level design in a way that I personally haven't really seen in those bullet hell shmups, you know. And it's something that I really like about R-Type. So I don't kind of get that satisfaction from them, you know. I like this is the same thing that I like about Alien Soldier is Alien Soldier as well has this similar quality where the game the core gameplay is always the same, but it also feels like a whole bunch of different scenarios that you're thrown into one after the other rather than just being the same thing from start to finish, you know. Or different bullet patterns or different enemy patterns or whatever. It's more than just an enemy pattern. It's a scenario of some kind. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this game. I think it's really good. It's going in the happy game rotation with Alien Soldier and Super Mario Bros. 3, you know. Yeah, I haven't played Radiant Silvergun yet. I I will admit that I am put off from it because I know already that it has a very similar scoring system to Ikaruga, which I think is just, I don't want to say that it's bad, but it's just not something that I would be interested in dealing with. But then again, I haven't paid that much attention to the scoring system in this game either. I think probably as a score attack game there's probably things that I don't like about it. Like, it's not that bad, but one thing I noticed, I was trying to maximize my score on the first stage, and one thing that it seems that you need to do in order to do that is you need to fire the pod at the boss but not shoot it. The jets at the back of the boss. And it's kind of interesting because it keeps the boss alive for longer. But it's not really an interesting bullet pattern or attack that's happening while you're doing that. So it's a fairly common thing in shmups, the idea of milking points from the boss before you kill them. And that's very obviously in here as well, because when you destroy a part of a boss, you get 1,000 points or whatever. But yeah. Yeah, the pod is another thing. I do love the pod as well about R-Type. I think it's a cool mechanic. I think it really says something that the pod in this game functions. I mean, there may be some subtle differences, but as far as I can tell, it functions basically identically to the pod from the original R-Type. You know, it does the same thing of getting to the horizontal position on the screen and then mimicking your vertical position, and the shots are the same, like the way the shots upgrade is the same and everything. You know, one thing I find beautiful is when you fire the pod backwards when it's upgraded. This is just beautiful. I can demonstrate actually. Look at the way the bullets flank you on each side as a sort of protective shield. That's just beautiful, and that they came up with that in 1987. You know, that's just crazy. It's really a testament to the original R-Type that they didn't have to make any major modification to the pod at all for this game to be compelling. You know, they just had to make some new levels and stuff. I played some R Type 3. I will go back and play more of it. I wasn't getting into it. It didn't hook me immediately the way this one did, I have to say. But I didn't play that much, so I do want to get back to it. We might be in for some more shmups, maybe some more shmup streams. I'm not promising anything though. I have a lot of real life shit that I need to sort out, so it's going to be my focus for the time being. I haven't played Ninja Gaiden 4. No, I've barely played Sigma 1, and I haven't played 2 or 3, so I'm not going to skip straight to the fourth one. I think R-Type is good. It's brutal. The difficulty is brutal. Somebody asked if it's good for first time shmup players or whatever. The difficulty is absolutely brutal, but it's a very good game. I don't know what else to say. It's just a good game, you know. So this one, I would say this one is easier than the original R-Type. Not this one kind of, there's maybe sections of it that are harder, but it's much easier to recover. In the original R-Type, you're kind of fucked when you die. You're in serious trouble. The power-ups are not anywhere near as common as they are in this one. Find it a bit strange that you don't get any points for destroying the missiles there. It's a bit weird. It kind of seems like that's what they're there for, almost. I played it for the first time a few days ago. Only finished it for the first time today. Who knows? I might start streaming all the time. Who knows? Probably not. The thing is, I would very quickly, part of the reason why the streams are entertaining for people, if they are, is because we have things to talk about. You know? Chat asks me questions. Chat says, I'm surprised, this has probably come up in the chat already, but I haven't seen it, you know. But chat has to know my opinion on Miles McKenzie from Metroid Prime 4. And so we have something to talk about then. But if I streamed all the time, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. I'm guessing somebody has asked about that. I'm keeping you in suspense. I have to build suspense for a minute. Yeah, man, I don't know. Probably gonna hold off on playing the game for a while anyway, because like I said, I don't have a Switch 2 yet. But bit of a mood killer. Must admit, bit of a mood killer. I feel like it must be the most hype deflating reveal in years. That's kind of the sense I got. It's like you could feel hype evaporating from the air. I don't know. Maybe I've said this on stream before. I've certainly thought about writing a little quick say about it or something. But like one of the things I think has gone wrong there is maybe I'm wrong actually, because the last game they were working on, well, I was going to say the last game they were working on was Donkey Kong, but that's not true probably, right? They were working on other games. That's the first death. This is a pretty hard section as well. This is probably the second hardest section in the game, so we might get stuck here. Yeah, I've been thinking about this for years actually, and the way I came to think about it was Mocap Studios, right? What's he talking about? Mocap Studios. What does this have to do? Just shut up for a second, all right? And I'll tell you. The way I was thinking about it was, if you're a studio and you own a mocap studio or whatever, right? You have the ability to mocap stuff and you're paying to have a mocap whatever. Now, I don't know how common this is because probably most of them just rent it out, you know? But if you have a mocap thing and you're a game developer, and your company pays for that all the time, because you have to mocap Donkey Kong or whatever, will you ever make a game that doesn't have mocap? Probably not, right? So here's maybe what happened is just pure speculation on my behalf. And I don't think Retro is the only company for whom this is true, because like I said, I've been thinking about this since long before that Metroid reveal, at least years now. maybe they were working on a game that necessitated having a writing team, you know, and now they're working on a game that doesn't really need a writing team, but they have writers on the staff. So the writers have to do something, so therefore the game needs to have writing. It's the game, it goes backwards, right? The influence flows backwards from what you have to what you make. And I think this is probably, I was thinking about what companies might avoid this, and I was thinking that's probably one of Valve's strengths, because they kind of, the people who work at Valve, this is just the impression I get. I don't know, but you get the impression that the people who work at Valve are like multi-instrumentalists of game developers. And that's really, I don't know, that's probably the best thing to be, maybe. Like if you can actually genuinely be good at multiple things, that means that you can make a game. If you're really good at writing, but you work in the studio and they say, you know what, next game we just want, 10 text logs and there's not really anything else, it's a shmup or whatever, then you don't become extraneous, because you can just do the other job that you do really well, whether it's being an artist or a musician or whatever it is, programmer, and I do think writing kind of writing is just one of those things where you see people, this can happen with any job, but it feels like it happens with writing more than with the other ones, where people have multiple disciplines and they manage to write something that's good, and it's, even though it's not their main discipline. Examples off the top of my head, I was thinking about this a while back with, I think I played 13 Sentinels and Returnal, maybe back to back, close to back to back anyway. 13 Sentinels was primarily written by George Kamitani, who is a phenomenal artist, and he directed the game as well. He's a director. I don't know how much he's responsible for the gameplay of the games that he made, but he made games with, at the very least, competent gameplay, and actually pretty good gameplay a lot of the time, I would say. But he wrote 13 Sentinels, and it's a great story. It's a great story. And I think Returnal had a dedicated writer on it, maybe, but I believe the story was also at least worked on by Harry Kruger, who directed the game, and also I think he programmed Nex Machina, which is a pretty cool game to program, because it's got this kind of voxelized destruction thing going on. And they were able to do that. Generalists, yes, generalists. That's a much better term than multi-instrumentalist. Yeah, generalists. But if you have someone and the only thing they can do is write, then your game needs writing, or they're out of a job. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but that's something I've been thinking about. It could have just been a mandate from on high, we need more onboarding because we want to take the series more mainstream or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't explain why the writing had to be that guy, And I don't want to jump to conclusions. There is the possibility that the game and even the character would win me over in some way, but that seems like a very remote possibility right now. It has to be admitted. We're still on 1 credit somehow. That's. I think this is the furthest I've gotten on 1 credit. I still died on stage 5, which was unfortunate, but I think this is the furthest I've gotten on 1 credit. Actually, I think I got exactly here before. If I get past this checkpoint, yeah, I think this is the furthest I've gotten on 1 credit, which is pretty cool. Not bad. Not bad considering that. I don't know how often any of you do this, but when you're talking in playing the game, it's very easy to just not feel like you're taking it in. And I don't know how I got here already. Again. So that's pretty cool. Okay. I'm getting better at dealing with that part. I might be able to skip the dose gauge on that at some point and save it for later, because there's a brutal part. I've never survived to the next checkpoint, I don't think. I've always respawned there instead. Maybe I did once, I don't know. It's very easy to get clipped here just by some random little thing. Did we make it? Or is it the next one over that you have to get to? I think we made it. Yeah, made it. I'm not doing the end stage then. Once I beat this guy. It'd be good to practice this boss again at least. Nearly. Nearly. If I can get... This is the hardest stage, so if I can get to the last stage, there's a good chance of getting it. Not guaranteed though. The very end is actually pretty hard, I think. Partially, I forgive the game because the presentation is really cool. Really, really cool. But partly because it's just kind of hard to see what's happening. But I forgive it. It's worth it in this particular case. Anyway. We already got a bit spoilery here. If I had my head screwed on, I would have given a spoiler warning there as well. That's a very cool moment when you come in and see the room from the level select. Very cool. I will admit I am mostly looking my way through those guys. Amazing. I can't believe that I'm killing that so fast. It usually takes me a lot longer to kill this thing. I don't know why. I don't know how I'm getting through the first phase of this thing so often now. Feels like it, when I was trying to learn it, it was taking a lot longer to die there. I don't know. Well, there we go. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. We're not doing the last stage because I didn't make it in one life. So I'll be back in a minute. I love the sparks. I love the way the sparks go flying off the launch pad. It's very cool. What games have I been playing recently? It's this game called R-Type Delta. I did play another game. I forget what it was called. Death something. It's like Death Nobi or something like that. I'm not sure. It was a Nobi game anyway. Death Nobi 2. Played the second one. It's like the 7th Nobi game or something like that. Probably you can count all of the the recent From Software games anyway as Nobi games, so it's probably more like the 20th Nobi game, you know. Still, I got into the habit of trying to maximize score on the first stage just because it's not that hard and it makes it a little bit more interesting using the pod to kill stuff, but it's much easier to just have it detached here. Yeah, I played Death Stranding too, and I don't know. I suppose I should remember that I'm a reviewer and that I try to take the job of reviewing things seriously. So I won't talk about it too much. I don't think my feelings on it have really fully settled either, honestly. I finished it not that long ago, so yeah. Maybe I'll do a review. Maybe. To become a real streamer and learn how to play clips, and I'll put that Peep Show clip that I referenced on one of the prior streams as one of my clips that I can play, you know. I'll review Death Stranding too after I learn to play the clarinet and whatever else it was that he says. I still haven't played Expedition 33. I will at some point. I'd say it's well, it's definitely the biggest game of this year that I haven't gotten around to yet. The most noteworthy game that I haven't gotten around to yet. Although ultimately I will decide if it's noteworthy. All right, so you just hang on and wait for me to get around to it sometime 2026, 2027, whenever I can fit it into my schedule, okay? And then I'll tell you whether or not it was actually noteworthy. I think somebody asked about, actually I meant to talk about some things that people had mentioned on previous streams. What was it? Because I do go back sometimes and skim the chat, and or I saw something during the stream and I remember that I didn't get around to it. We were talking about 2001 on one of the recent streams, and somebody in the chat said that the film would have been better without the intro with the apes and stuff. No. No. That's a huge part of the film. It's a huge part of the film. It's there's there's a reason why Thus Spoke Zarathustra plays at the start, right? Because the film is about this kind of this battle for who comes out on top, right? And in the Zarathustrian kind of way of putting it, who becomes the Superman, right? And so the initial framing is one group of apes against another. One group of apes against another. One of them comes out on top. One of them, in a manner of speaking, becomes the Superman versus the other apes, right? And then the rest of the film is about man versus AI. It's a very relevant film for today. So the film is like the question of the future of humanity, right? And the start of it is the framing of that by showing the past of humanity, basically. So I think it's integral to the themes of the film, basically. People are getting outraged about this. I think somebody said that in the last. I could be making this up. I don't have a reference for you. I didn't take names. Another one that I remember was somebody asked about working on a longer project and sticking at it or whatever, trying to bring a longer project to fruition. What I would say is I'm not the best person to ask about that, first of all, because my productivity is not where I want it to be. So I'm probably not the best person to be giving advice. But one thing that I think I've been subconsciously doing this for a while, but one thing that I noticed and kind of consciously realized and started leaning into when I was working on Logic Bombs, which is a longer project than making a video, obviously. I know it's still a pretty small, humble little game and all, but it's longer than making a video. And I had a good amount of content in it, right? This is an oversimplification, but one way to think about it is that there's two modes of working, right? The first mode is you do a kind of triage on your project. You do the thing, you try to find what is the thing which is most impactful for moving it forward. And now it's time to do that thing, right? And sometimes that thing is unfortunately very unenjoyable or quite difficult, I suppose I don't need to give specific examples. Sometimes you have a problem that needs to be tackled, and it's the thing that's going to most push the project forward for the amount of effort that you put into it. Because you want to be getting closer to the goal, right? Even if it's just, obviously I didn't do this for Logic Bombs, but even if it's just so that if you do hit a brick wall, you can show it to someone and you can say, look, I got this far, can I get funding? Or I got this far, do you really think it's worth me carrying on? Blah, blah, blah. So you can get feedback, You want to take the project further. But unfortunately, sometimes that's very difficult, and you're not in the mood or you're not in the headspace to do it. So you can't do the triage thing. And then one thing that you can do is you can flip to a different mode of thought, which is just do anything. If you just do anything, that's better than doing nothing, right? So if you can't hit your maximum level of productivity, which nobody really does anyway, but maybe you're unhappy with the level that you're at. Okay, that's understandable. A lot of us have been through that, right? But if you can just do something, the project is that little bit closer, right? And maybe it's something that's not even necessary. Maybe it's like, to use an example from my thing, maybe, I'm going to make the cursor animate at a dynamic speed because I don't really feel like doing anything else and I just want to do something kind of fun. And it's this or nothing out of me today, right? Today, it's this or nothing. Do the this, right? Even if the this is not very impactful, do the this. That's what I'm saying. And that's... Now, you do need to go into the triage mode and you do need to do the important things. You can't put them off forever. But what I'm saying is, if you can do a little something every day, maybe you're not working at your maximum capacity, but you get there in the end, right? So that's one approach. It's not the ideal approach, I'm sure. But it's something. If you can't do anything else, you can do that, I think I had one more topic I wanted to talk about from a prior stream, but I don't remember. Oh yeah, I was talking about things how when you're working on a game, one of the things that frustrated me was stuff that seemed easy turned out to be harder than you would expect, and stuff that people might pick up on and go, oh, isn't that a nice piece of polish or whatever, and that they really enjoy is actually simpler. And so it feels wrong sometimes. I'm not sure if I gave a concrete example of what I mean, but I remembered one. It's kind of difficult to explain. Maybe that's why I didn't go into it. But what else am I going to talk about? During one of the recent patches, what I did was I changed the original theme, the green monochrome theme, so that outside the border is black instead of green, which is how I wanted it to be in the first place, honestly. But in so doing, what it meant is that in the original release of the game, what you were seeing, the green that you were seeing in the background, and whether it was inside or outside of the playfield or whatever, the dark green that you were seeing there was actually the OpenGL clear color, which is what the color... I'm trying to use the precise terms here. The OpenGL context gets set to after you've finished when you call OpenGL clear color, which is usually after you've finished rendering the frame and you're getting ready to draw the next frame. Now, usually I think that's just set to black because you basically just want a clean canvas to put it on, maybe to white, I'm not sure. One or the other, right? Some kind of neutral color. And but for whatever reason, when I was initially setting it up, I said on this theme we're going to have a green so that when we do the fade, we can fade to the green easily, because at that point the game didn't have multiple frame buffers and there wasn't really blah 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 blah. I moved over to the frame buffer style where I had my own frame buffer that I was rendering to, and for some reason then the fade didn't work correctly. It's a difficult little graphical glitch to describe, but basically there was a small graphical glitch where just on the option screen, because the option screen is not really a full screen, you can see how into the weeds we're getting here for something that's very simple, right? Just on the option screen, you could see the letters, squares fading in around the letters because there was nothing else there on the screen. It was such a stupid, tiny, fucking little problem. And it turned out that I needed... Maybe there was a simpler way to do it, but in the end, in order to fix it, I had to change the blend mode and the shader that was doing the fade. Both of them. If I changed just one or the other, it didn't fix the problem. That took me at least a whole day of work to figure out. A whole day. And I zeroed in on the problem fairly quickly. I changed the shader and it didn't solve it, and I changed the blend mode and that didn't solve it. And it took me a while to realize I should try doing them both at the same time, you know? Well, it took me a while to zero in on the problem first, but then it took me a while to realize that I have to do both of them because that didn't make sense to me. It still doesn't really make sense to me, honestly. I got it working and I went, okay, I should probably figure out why this works. But I just didn't because the game is already out and whatever, it worked. And yeah, there's an example, you know? Whereas there's other things that are just simple. And part of it is like something like vibration, you know, part of it is that's simple because I was using SDL, right? So when you're using SDL, that's a lot of that is handled for you, and that was very simple. So I'm cheating a little bit by calling that simple because I'm sure it's not. But you get the idea. Yeah, you know, part of it is just doing this by yourself and not having anybody you can go to. Even if you're in some kind of indie group or something, which I'm not, you know, maybe you can go on to some Discord and talk and say, and somebody figures it out in 2 seconds because they're a more advanced graphics programmer than you are, you know. So there's a pretty heavy cost to be paid there, but I think a certain amount of this kind of fumbling is inevitable, and sometimes it's on really unenjoyable, really inconsequential shit that you thought was going to take 10 minutes. And that's frustrating. But I think when I answered the question on the prior stream, somebody said, you know, are you enjoying this more than making videos? I think I was a little too negative with what I said, because I am enjoying it more than I was making videos. And I'm looking forward to getting back to the engine, because I have ideas about how I want to improve that, you know. And there's a lot to learn and a lot to do there that could really improve it and actually make it something that's worth calling an engine. Who knows? I might end up giving up. I don't know. Still a lot of... There's huge problems to tackle if I want to continue using my own stuff on future games, you know. You get away with a lot for Logic Bombs because of how simple it is, you know. For example, it's single threaded, and it's my understanding is that it's still pretty common for the game simulation in games to be single threaded. But there's definitely things that you would want to use multi-threading to speed up, and the game just does not use any multi-threading. But if you're making a proper game, even just a 2D platformer, you want to do stuff like load the levels, at least, with multi-threading, you know? If you only need one core to simulate your game, that's fine, but there's other things you want to do. We've already used the continue on this one, right? So we're not doing the final level even if I get to the end, but that's okay. So I'll practice. I'm surprised how well I'm playing. I'm not really playing any worse than when I play it myself, from what I can tell anyway. Which is not normal on the streams. Stream usually comes with a big performance penalty because my brain's not multi-threaded. I haven't played Ragebound, no. I don't know if it was you, or somebody recommended it on a prior stream, a recent stream. And yeah, I will definitely give it a look. Watched Patriot and it was great. Made me wonder who's the bigger Patriot actually was, John or his dad. Well, I'm glad you watched it and enjoyed it. Yeah, it's really good. I forgot to, yeah, this was another thing I meant to say. I forgot to warn people that it was cancelled. But you kind of don't need to warn people because the ending to season 2 is fairly satisfying as an ending. So it works as an ending, I think. It's maybe not the ending they wanted for the show, but it works. And I think it was probably written with the idea that maybe it wouldn't get renewed. So, you said who's the bigger Patriot, John or his dad? I think it's pretty clearly his dad. Probably had a shot of one of them, but I haven't really played any Armored Core games, including the newest one. I think I did try one a very, very long time ago, but I wouldn't be able to comment on it. Might regret not picking up the yellow there. I think this beam does okay here though. Yeah, man, is there any scenario where yellow's not outclassed? I don't know, man. Maybe with the other ships. I can't believe I've gotten past that boss twice on this stream. I got past it. Yeah, didn't I? Second time. I don't know, man. I'm up pretty late, so I'm also kind of tired. I'm not really taking any of this in. Yeah, I should probably get back into Brutal Orchestra. I took a lot of characters to the end, but I'm still missing some. I don't know whether it's best to swap this for the blue or not. I feel like the blue laser is somehow stronger against these guys. That's a big problem right there. That is a big problem. I knew that was a problem there, that strategy. The strategy has a hole in it that needs to be addressed. Most of the time, doing what I did there is fine, but that, if he throws his bullets up the wrong way and you're there, you're kind of fucked. Maybe I can get under. No. Oh, you can't. No. Did the brain thing kill me there? I think it did. I'm just going to practice this because I need to get a strategy that's more consistent here. But most of the time you're fine. It seems like it works more often than it doesn't. Maybe it has to do with the pod being full, I'm not sure. I'm not even going to attack him. Yeah, it worked there, but that was just luck. So what else could I do there? I'm just going to test that I can't get to the left of those brain guys on their first bounce. I think you get hit by one of them. But I should test that. It seems like that's what killed me a second ago. Well, two lives ago. Let's just sit on this side of the screen and see what happens. Yeah. You're not allowed to do that. I could, if I have the pod, I could fire backwards instead. Which leaves that guy alive, but gives me more breathing room. Maybe that's the ideal there. Or maybe we focus on killing them like this. And then go for this guy. But then we're under pressure from those guys, but it works. It's probably tough to do. I suppose I shouldn't really worry about the higher difficulty. I'm guessing the enemies shoot more bullets on the higher difficulty, so that's probably harder to do. But maybe this is what I should do instead. And that's pretty bad there. If you're at the very top of the screen, he probably can't hit you, but I don't know. It's not that bad. And when you come into the stage with the full pod, let's try this one more time. Barely, but if that was a full pod instead, he would be melted long before. I think I'll go with that. Didn't mean to fire that backwards there. This is still a little dodgy as well because you have to poke forward to try and get that guy on the ground, which puts you at risk of getting clipped by the turrets on the top. So that's a little bit dicey, but it'll do. Maybe should still be doing the big charge shot as well to deal with that guy. Look at that. That's my first time getting through there. That's nice. I could feel that coming. Oh man, that was a Ghosts and Goblins death. That death happened in my mind about a full second before it hit on screen. I went, you're fucking this up somehow. Somehow you're fucking this up. That's the way it goes. Yeah, I think I can get through this game, at least on normal anyway, pretty consistently now. You know, that's not bad to be able to... So the final stage isn't that hard. At least not until the end boss anyway. So I think this game is going in the happy game folder. Yeah. That part does still feel dodgy, alright. It's a bit much. I watched a video to see if there was supposed to be slowdown for that boss, and it doesn't look like it's slowed down at all on the PS1 version. Those little wiggly things that come out of the... I don't know what they are, manta rays or whatever they are that come out of its mouth. Yeah, messed it up again. Getting tired now. Well, I always say this, but it's a shorter stream than usual today, alright? So, been streaming more often, and when I stream more often, I'm more comfortable ending after a couple hours or so. So, I am getting pretty tired. What was I saying? Yeah, those wiggly things. I don't know. It's a bit much. Maybe we'll do Panzer Dragoon. I don't know. I haven't played it. There's a remake on Steam. What's it like? Any good? Because I don't have a Dreamcast, so... There's another arcade game out I haven't played yet. I want to give it a shot. Might be my next one after this one. Night Striker Gear. I don't know much about it, but I think it's directed by the guy that did Radiant Silvergun and Ikaruga and stuff. Looks a bit weird. But yeah, I'm kind of in a shmuppin mood. I'm in an arcadey mood anyway. Oh, I've never survived this. Let's see if we can do it. No. That is a problem with the game right there. It most of the time it doesn't matter, but not knowing where your hitbox is exactly is rough there, especially because there's some perspective interfering with your ability to assess how close you are to touching it. The game is taking the piss a little bit with that. It's taking the piss a little bit with that. It's overreaching a little bit on that, I think. We'll forgive it, because it's a very good game. But we gotta call it like it is, you know? This really is a really good game. It really is. I don't know. This'll... I don't know, maybe this sounds stupid, but any of you ever play a game and you just think that there's a beauty to it as a game? Do you know what I mean? Because it's not something that people really talk about. The beauty of a game as a game. And maybe I'm letting the presentation kind of color my opinion a bit too much, and the fact that it's a PS1 game and stuff, that they made it so long ago and it turned out so well, and but there's just, as a game, there's beauty in this thing, you know. And I just love playing games that have that quality to them, you know. So it's been very refreshing playing this game. I'm very glad to have played it. I do want to give Radiant Silver a try, yeah. I know about the button combination thing in it. At least I think I know what that's about, where you can press a bunch of different fire buttons, and I find that interesting. I think that's cool. It's on Steam now as well, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's my next game. I don't know. I only buy games that are on sale, except Logic Bombs, which has not been on sale. So. I'm not making a hard and fast rule about it, but yeah, I think I talked about this before. I'm not sure if I ever stated it directly, but I did kind of talk about it. Yeah, the plan is to not put it on sale. I think these are the... I could be... don't want to misattribute, but I think the Factorio dev said it's kind of like... almost like a tax on poor people or something, because you're... you know, you're asking people to waste their time looking up whether or not a game is on sale instead of just buying it. And you know, there's even, that's not even the only problem with it either, you know. It's like, well, it kind of is. There's just multiple ways you could state it, you know. It does waste your time. It wastes your time. I don't want to condemn developers for doing it though. I don't think it's that bad a thing to put your game on sale. We're not doing the final level. We'll do one more restart and then we're done, okay? I may not even see this one all the way to that boss fight because I am pretty fucking tired. So yeah, I'm not. This isn't even necessarily why I'm not doing it. I think somebody says there are a lot of games I'd never buy if they didn't go on sale. Most AAA games, in fact. I think that the point is actually, it's not a disagreement with you, actually. The point is that a lot of people feel the same way. And I know this doesn't happen for a while, but say a big AAA game comes out and then it starts out at, say, $60 or whatever. And then 2 years later, when it's on sale, you can pick it up for $15 or something like that. If money is tight for you, well, I'll just be honest about this because now that I'm a logillionaire, and you all think I'm fucking loaded or something, I can be honest. Money has been tight for me a lot of the time, right? And I can't always buy the games that I want to buy and play. And by the way, I buy all my own games. I don't take keys from anybody. I buy all my own games. So I know what this is like from first-hand experience. If you know that the game will go down to $15, but it's not available for that right now, you're ready to play it now. You go, I've gotten through this part of my backlog and I'm ready to play this game now. But last month it was available for $15. Some people will because they're the type of people who would buy it at any cost. But most likely you just say, well, I can't play that game right now. That's just a bad feeling, man. To look at the game and go, I would pay the price that it was available at if it was still currently available at that price. But because it's not available at that, I just can't play it right now. I just can't justify the cost of buying it right now when I know that if I wait a bit longer, it'll be cheaper. And there's a lot of people who are in that situation. And yeah, I understand that developers make more money with the sale thing and all. Like one thing, like one way it really hurts, probably will hurt Logic Bombs in the long run, is that nobody's going to get an email about it if it's on their wish list. That's one thing that makes me think maybe I should put it on sale for like 10% even or something, just so that people will get an email about it, because you're getting emailed about all the other stuff on your wish list or whatever, or it's coming up on the front page of Steam for you, but that's not going to happen for Logic Bombs unless it goes on sale. And I should be fair here, Steam is actually a really good platform in most regards, right? It does actually promote games that aren't on sale. It does try to find things that you will like, and I think it's, as far as discoverability goes, it's the best platform for games by far. As of the ones that I've tried anyway, there's just no competition whatsoever. So I don't want to shit on it for that reason. But yeah, that's a reason that that developers should consider not putting their games on sale and just having a lower price, instead, so that everybody can buy it whenever they like. There's more reasons than that not to do it, though. I mean, another reason for Logic Bombs is just that because of the way the game looks and stuff, I'm not sure that it would have sold well at all if it was $10. It's the kind of thing that people kind of need to feel comfortable taking a chance on because of the way it looks. Its history as a Game Boy game and all that. You kind of need to give it a shot, feel comfortable giving it a shot. And I just felt that people would feel a lot more comfortable at the $5 mark than the $10 mark. And once it's $5, I mean, it doesn't get much cheaper than that. So it feels like there's not really much point in me putting it on sale, Maybe the thought process would be different if the game itself was different. So I'm not gonna say that I'll never put a game on sale or whatever. Logic Bombs maybe even could, but it just kind of feels pointless if it's $5. You know. Anything you change about the game now that it's out? There's been a few updates recently, so I have changed a few little things here and there, and there hasn't been any major changes. I don't know. Not really. No, I'm pretty happy with it. Nothing major, you know. You always have little regrets and things. Like the thing I was saying much earlier in the stream, you may not have been here when I was talking about it, but the thing I was saying about 10.4, if I had identified that problem before release, I probably would have fixed the puzzle. It's just now that it's out, it becomes kind of part of the history and the story and the idea of the game that maybe this little thing went wrong with it, and it's kind of interesting, you know, that there's this too hard puzzle in the game. But again, I'm not even entirely sure if it's too hard. I think maybe when I made it, I went, I don't know. I think I recognized something in it that I don't even remember what the kind of crux of the puzzle is, but I think it has something to do with the column that has nine walls. And I think I recognized something about that when I went, you know, this isn't present anywhere else in the game. This is very, you're pushing it here, but really there's no other puzzle that does this, so you kind of have to keep it, you know. And maybe I should have gone back and refined that puzzle more, but I did many refinement passes on the game already, so at some point you have to say you've refined it enough and move on, you know. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a good looking game as well, Delta, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah. There's some really cool details in it. One of my favorite details is actually in this level. There's these nests that we'll come up to, and when you kill the nest starts dripping blood, and you can see the blood drop down, and when it hits the surface of the water, it creates another little particle. And that's just crazy. I haven't actually played the PS1 version. I'm just going to assume that that's in the PS1 version of the game, though. I take it back if it's an added detail in this release, but I don't think it is. I imagine it's there in the original as well. It seems like it's just trying to be a faithful remake of the original, so. I have played Zero Ranger, yeah. I finished it. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it a lot. It's a good game. It's definitely a very good beginner shmup. It's a good way to get into shmups, I would say. It's there, look at the drops hitting the water. Look at that. I got distracted. Fuck's sake, I hadn't died yet. I was trying to, I don't know why I stopped shooting. It's like I was trying to show off the blood effect, but it's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah, you can see it there with the droplets, the regular water droplets as well. But it's cooler when it's the blood. Yeah, Zero Ranger is very good. I might have been pointing at the screen. I might have, honestly. Maybe I was. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Begonia. I haven't seen Sinners either. I haven't heard of Sinners. Unless it's is it an old film or something? By the way, if you do get the... I'm hoping that they'll patch this, but if you do get the HD boosted version of this game, the music here is kind of broken. It's supposed to have a guitar solo that comes in during this bit. It plays if you respawn at the checkpoint. Oh, you probably heard it because I died at this checkpoint earlier. So yeah, that's supposed to play now. It's unfortunate that it doesn't. It seems like they could probably just edit the track. It's because it's much slower on the original PlayStation. So they could probably just edit the track because it seems like it's got some repetitive parts in it that are designed so they could have been easily sort of stretched out or whatever. And yeah, I know it would be a modification to the game, but it's a necessary one. It's like that part of the track is the important part, really. You know, it's the most important part in the stage because it kind of makes that moment more climactic. And otherwise, the music isn't doing a huge amount for this stage. So, yeah, they should do that. The game is muted? Oh, I didn't realize. I can see that, yeah, I can see that it's quite low. That should... There you go. Maybe it's too loud now. I don't know. We're wrapping up anyway. I'll try and get that sorted if I stream this again. I might stream it again because I do want to play the other ships. Probably not that different. anyway. Hello, fellow Matt. Yeah, I do tend to talk a little bit low. I think I'm kind of clipping sometimes on the mic though. I don't know. Audio is just a hard thing to get right when you're streaming because you can't really hear it yourself and all that. So okay, I'll put it somewhere in the middle, like so. Oh, when I said it was clipping, yeah, I changed the gain. I forget which way to. There, I lowered the gain back down. I think maybe I boosted it a little bit. Anyway, I haven't played Silent Hill F. No. Nope. I would like to though. And yeah, I'll get around to it soon, maybe. What's the weakest aspect of this game in your opinion? I do think this stage could be a bit better. I'm kind of coming to terms with stage 6, so... And I haven't even really put that much time into the game, so maybe I can make my peace with stage 6, even though it seems a little bit too difficult. It seemed way too difficult at first. I'm coming to grips with it, so I think this stage should probably be a touch more difficult. Yeah, this one feels a bit like the weak link. It's not bad though. You know, if this is the worst stage in your game, then you're doing all right. Just a little bland compared to the rest of the game. I mean, it's technically got a gimmick in that you're only ever moving vertically, which is an interesting setup for our R-Type. You know, it makes good use of the pod, so there's that. But I just think maybe the presentation on this one is not as strong as the other levels in the game. Then again, you kind of want... It's an interesting thing where you kind of want a palate cleanser, you know? You kind of need a bit of normalcy or whatever before you go back into another slightly weird stage, maybe. I don't know. So, well, I don't have a lot of problems with this game. Not yet, anyway. I'm probably not going to be doing a score attack run on it, though. But you don't have to. A game doesn't really have to have a good scoring system if it's just interesting to play it trying to survive. You know, as long as it's fun to just try and get through the game without dying. The scoring system doesn't necessarily have to be good. So, yeah. That was another Ghosts and Goblins death. I felt that one coming in about 2 seconds in advance as well. That was rough. Actually, might be a good time to call it quits whenever I lose this next life. Because then we've lost our 1 credit clear chance. But I'll fight for it. You can tell my energy's gotten pretty low. So we'll call it quits when I die here. Let's see if I can actually end the stream when I said I will, okay? I know you'll all be shocked if it happens, but I'm gonna try. Next time I die, even if it's in 5 seconds, I'm gonna wrap up. Okay. I called it. Do you know, I think oh, we still have 5 seconds or whatever to change our mind. Do you know, my streams have often had this kind of quality where I say, all right, we'll do one more, and then I do some kind of miraculous play for a little while. I get some kind of last wind, and then the stream goes on, but not so today. Anyway, did okay. I did better than I expected today, actually. So I'm happy with that. 20 hours. Total playtime. 20 hours. That's how long it takes. Okay. I'm going to call it. I said I would, and I really am this time. Anyway. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to give another reminder. Logic Bombs on the Switch, December 24th. That's it. I won't belabor the point. And I don't think I have anything else to say. So, yeah. Maybe I'll stream again soon. I'm in an arcadey mood. And that's better for streams than when I'm playing other things. Alright? So. I will see you all again soon. Maybe. Goodbye, everybody.